Brain fog isn't random. It's not a lack of discipline. It's not ADHD. It's a neurochemical alarm, your brain telling you it's starving for the proper fuel. There's a saying in computer science, garbage in, garbage out. Feed a machine broken inputs, and it'll spit out broken outputs. Your brain is no different, except it's 1,000 times more complex and far more sensitive to what you put in. So what exactly is brain fog? Depending on your lifestyle, it might be sitting in front of your laptop, staring at the same sentence for 10 minutes, unable to make yourself start. You've had the coffee, you've tried to push through, but that clear, switched on state that you know you're capable of just never comes. And deep down, you can feel it. You know you could be doing more, thinking faster, creating at a higher level, but it's like there's this thick veil between you and the life that you know you should be living. And this fog that you're feeling is likely more common than you think, given that a 2018 analysis of US health data found that only 12% of American adults are metabolically healthy, meaning nearly 88% are living with some form of underlying metabolic dysfunction. And the thing is, your brain is often the first place that this shows up. As I mentioned earlier, garbage in, garbage out. If you want a clear brain, the first step isn't adding more superfoods or nootropics, it's removing the garbage that's creating the fog in the first place. But there are two main problems that you will likely run into. First, you don't actually have a proper system for cutting out the obvious garbage, like ultra-processed foods for example, which is just one of the principles in my 7 principles for peak performance. And second, you may not be aware that you are still feeding your brain the less obvious garbage, the stuff that silently drives inflammation and wrecks your mental clarity without you even realizing it. And these less obvious inputs are where most of your brain fog begins, mostly because they're hiding in plain sight, inside foods you've been told are healthy. For most of human history, if we chose to eat plants, we had strict methods for preparing them. Soaking, fermenting, peeling, de-seeding, because our ancestors knew certain parts of the plant could cause problems, and they aren't really meant to be eaten. Today, most people skip all of that and throw raw spinach, kale, almonds, beans, or quinoa straight into a blender. The problem? Plants create compounds to defend themselves, to deter animals from eating them. After all, if they're eaten, they can't reproduce. Plants produce anti-nutrients like oxalates, which can bind to minerals like calcium and create oxalate crystals, which can wreak havoc in your body, or lectins, which can disrupt your gut barrier and immune signaling. All of this can create a low-grade inflammation that travels the gut-brain highway and clouds your mental clarity. Did you know that your gut contains hundreds of millions of neurons? And these are linked directly to your brain through the vagus nerve. It's why scientists call your gut the second brain. When your gut is irritated, your brain gets the signal almost instantly. Then there's seed oils. They're in almost everything we consume. Restaurant food, dressings, healthy snacks. These oils are loaded with linoleic acid, a fragile omega-6 fat that oxidizes easily. When it does, it creates lipid peroxides, toxic compounds that can slip through your blood-brain barrier, damage your neurons, and disrupt your mitochondria, which we know are the powerhouses of your cells. The result? Constant inflammation in your brain, neurons that can't use fuel efficiently, cutting you off from your most stable fuel source, ketones. So how do you actually tap into that stable fuel source? You give your brain what it is designed to run on, fat, and not just any fat, but nutrient-dense, bioavailable animal fat. Your brain is about 60% fat by weight, and it thrives on and actually prefers ketones. This is the clean-burning energy your body makes when you are running primarily on fat instead of a constant drip of carbs. At some point, all of these carbs actually get converted to glucose, aka sugar, in your body. The problem is, most people never give their brain the chance to run on ketones. Every few hours, they top off with carbs, spike insulin, which ends up blocking ketone production. The result? Energy feels less stable, thinking that's cloudy, and a brain that's always looking for its next sugar fix instead of staying locked into focus. When you switch to fat as your primary fuel, ketones provide a steady stream of energy that keep neurons firing efficiently, reduces inflammation, and even boosts brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which helps with memory and learning. And what's the best place to get all of this fat from? Well, meat. Meat is the most nutrient-dense, bioavailable food that you could consume. Bioavailable meaning that you are actually able to absorb those nutrients contained within the meat. Plants or vegetables, on the other hand, sure, they might contain some nutrients, though never in the same abundance as meat, But many of those nutrients are locked up by those anti-nutrients, or plant toxins. Those compounds don't just block the plant's own nutrients, they also can block the absorption of the other nutrients from the rest of your meal. Which means that if you eat a salad with a steak, you could actually be absorbing fewer nutrients than if you just eaten more steak. When your brain runs on ketones and is fed the most usable nutrients possible, something changes. You stop chasing energy and are able to access it by default. And that stable energy is exactly why our ancestors could go long stretches without eating, and still think clearly enough to hunt, plan, and problem solve. Today, most people do the opposite. They graze all day, like a little cow. Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, never giving their brain a break from digestion, and never allowing their physiology to function as it should. Every time you eat carbs, you spike insulin and switch off that fat-burning mode, which means you're constantly flipping between fuel sources instead of running on one steady supply. But when you compress your eating into 1 or 2 nutrient-dense meals a day, you keep insulin low for longer stretches, maintain ketone production, and give your brain the stable energy environment that it evolved for. The same one that allowed humans to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast every other species on this planet. So if you want to clear brain fog as fast as possible, you only need to focus on 3 levers to start. First, remove anything that creates inflammation in the brain. That means cutting out the obvious junk and the healthy foods that are quietly wrecking your clarity. Second, fuel your brain on what it's designed for. Third, give your body longer, uninterrupted stretches to stay in that state instead of breaking it up with constant eating. And just to keep it simple at the very minimum, either just don't eat at all or avoid carbs until your deep work is done. Everything else is just noise. If you dial in these principles, you'll feel the difference fast, usually within days. Remember when I said that brain fog isn't random? Now you know why. It's not a lack of discipline, motivation, or focus. It's a biological mismatch. The wrong inputs create inflammation, block your brain's preferred fuel, and keep you locked in a constant cycle of peaks and crashes. Remove the garbage, fuel with what your brain was designed for, and give yourself long stretches in that state, and you'll be shocked how quickly clarity, focus, and consistent energy return. If you're ready to go a little deeper and want to do a hard reset, make sure to check out this video right here.